Welcome everyone to Momo Nomo and what's my channel called?
Ladder Daily Digest.
And we're doing our Salt Lake Expositor. And today we have a special co-host, Maven.
Hi
Maven.
guys.
Hey Maven,
Hopefully
for
a few
people
people
that have
recognize
never
me.
for people that have never heard of you, what would you do it?
I'm
bio?
a washed up has been rando podcaster, I guess.
Yeah, whatever.
With a haircut.
And when you said we had a special co-host, I kind of thought you were talking about me, Gene.
Well,
of course.
For you, it's like the Special Olympics level of co-host.
No. Oh,
Dang,
Gene.
it's harsh.
So anyway,
it's good
Michelle
to see
says,
you, Maven, because I haven't seen you in forever, it seems like.
Yeah.
I know we correspond through text, but
yeah,
to see you. Isn't that weird how we work with people? I mean, I've met both of you personally, but, like Megan Connor and Kiki and some of those. I feel like I know them. I know what they look like, but I've never met them. But it seems like I have, and I know them.
Living in a virtual world, but I've used the material girl.
Yeah.
See,
that's kind of what we're at. Yeah. And the world's kind of getting more and more like that every day, isn't it? And actually, part of that has to do, I guess, is one of the changes that we'll be going over today. Is that in the title? Yeah, changes to the General Handbook. Should we jump in, or do we banter a bit more, tell some stories?
So, and I'll say actually one thing about the virtual world that has to do with this is the changes in the General Handbook are online, and it's virtual. People have to make a point to go through it. I guess I don't know if the bishops get a special list of all the changes.
I think the handbook's been online for a while. Right. I don't think the bishops used to have a completely separate handbook, but I think they did away with that when it got a little too controversial. But that just means that other things are just unwritten and are just passed down orally, I would think, from leaders.
Yeah. I remember being in a corporate situation where like a packet came and I had to take for 12 handbooks, I had to take page 37 and replace it with the old page 37 for each of those. I was some sort of admin job or something.
Yeah.
And I remember if you were a teacher and you needed some handouts for your class, they had this, what was it called? A mimeograph machine where they turned
duplicating machine is what I say.
I mean, it looks like something from Joseph Smith's day.
It's beyond my time. That's with the little purple lines, right?
Yeah.
So I at least know what it is. It's before my time. So if we've got any Gen Z here or later, they'll completely be lost in the sauce on what that is.
Yeah. And it has some sort of fluid.
Just welcome all of our listeners. We love you guys, and we have such a good audience, and it's growing every week. So thank you for coming, and I think you'll really like the show today, and I think you'll be intrigued because the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that never changes continues to change, and that's what the show's about, is some of the changes in the General Handbook of the church. So that'll be great.
I think they're quite good. I'm honestly, I was quite pleased with some of them. Yeah, been a long time.
Maybe they're seeing the light. I don't know.
I don't know about that, but people can do the right thing for the wrong reasons. But I'm happy they're doing the right thing regardless. But yeah, shall we jump into it then?
Let's jump into it.
Heck right.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that we'll start with number 1. How does that sound?
So, and let's do the preamble
the video.
To this.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maven, you want to introduce it?
Well, you found it, but it is it's a newer channel. It does seem to be AI generated, so I know we'll probably get comments about that. So yeah, it is AI generated. A couple of pronunciations will be kind of funny, but it puts it together, I think, pretty concisely, the 5 major changes and what they mean and why. So I think. I know, is that a good enough one? What's the channel? Mormon Deep Dive? I think that's what it is. I can't see it on the screen.
I know I subscribed to it, but
yeah, I'm pulling it up right now on my phone. I was rewatching it right before, so I'm gonna pull it up in my history.
And I'll put a link in
the
chat.
Mormon Deep Dive. Yeah, and we'll have a link there. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, let's rock and roll.
Okay.
Change number 5. You are going to see the pattern. Change 1. Temple recommend interviews. In January 2026, the church announced that bishops would no longer ask detailed questions about sexual behavior in temple recommend interviews. The new guidance? Ask only if the person is living the law of chastity. No follow-up questions. No details. Just yes or no. Official reason. Preserve dignity and reduce discomfort. Real reason. Reduce liability. Bishops asking minors explicit questions about masturbation created legal exposure. Multiple lawsuits. Bad press. This change protects the church legally. Change 2. Youth interview policy. February 20.
So I just want to comment on change 1 there, because they kind of blend the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so glad to see this. I remember when I was 12, my first bishop's interview worthiness interview to be a deacon, he asked me if I masturbated. And I said, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
He says, play with yourself. And that was really awkward for me.
Yeah.
And I have no idea of what answer I gave him. But
he probably said, "You
Did
mean
you
like
did you understand? Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Did you even understand what he meant? Because I would have been like, like puzzles or like
yeah, right.
Like, what do you mean? Yeah, when nobody, when other kids
I get so perturbed at I just want to tell this really quickly.
Yeah.
When I was a newly married guy, within the first year, it was time for my wife and I to renew our temple recommends. And I'm going to get really personal here for a sec. But my wife went in first and sat down with the bishop and had her interview. And after about 15 minutes, she came out bawling. She was crying her eyes out. And she said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what just happened. And I'm like, what? And I walked into the bishop's office. He says, oh, come in and have a seat. I said, what's going on with my wife? He said, I tore her recommend up. I said, you what? He said, I'm just going to give you the questions that I asked her, and all I want is an honest answer. He said, we'll start off with the problem area. You're newly married. Have you ever, have your lips ever come in contact with your wife's body below the waist? That was exactly verbatim how he asked it. I said, yeah. He took my recommend, he ripped it up, and he says, you're excused.
Oh my God. I thought you had told this. I thought I knew what story you were telling, but
So we went to the stake president. I called him right after I got out of there. This was an old bishop in a very old ward in Mesa, Arizona. I called the stake president and I told him what had happened. And he said, you and your wife, you come on in and talk to me. And he brought us in. We were very worthy and temple recommend holders. And he wrote us both brand new temple recommends. And he said, I'm sorry. And that will be dealt with. Well, guess what? We found out from our dear friends in the ward that we weren't the first ones. He'd ripped up several of the younger couples' recommends. And guess who got booted out of the bishopric? Yeah, him. I could not believe that the audacity of this old fart to tear up our recommends in front of us and make my wife cry. And I wish I had known then what I know now about life.
Right.
Because I would have had some words.
We had no authority over ourselves.
Yeah. I mean,
the bishop had the authority.
Yeah. It is. Sorry, I was saying it's a big deal. Not that, what people are doing privately. But the fact that just temple recommends in general, it's not just a status symbol. It is very much a status symbol, but it's not just that, because if you're attending weddings of any beloved friends or family members, that means you can't go anymore. And there are implications for callings. If you happen to work at BYU, there would be job implications for losing your temple recommend. So the power that one person has to be so flippant and nonchalant about tearing something, and again over something so personal that's none of his business. I do know, and this has been reported on in the past, there was official documentation from the church explicitly forbidding any kind of oral sexual activities, and that was rescinded. A
letter from the first presidency
to
the bishops.
The top to the bottom. It went out to all the
11
bishops.
months later.
No pun intended.
Right. But then it was pulled back, but quietly. So I don't think bishops got the same level of letters. So there still were bishops afterward. I think they still had the impression from the first, like the official letter that went out, and then it was just kind of like quietly done away with. I think I'm remembering that right. And so I'm kind of wondering, was this like during that time, or was this even after? I mean, it was only a year that it was officially.
It was in 19. Let's see, I got married in 1981. I don't remember when so it would be 1982, the very beginning.
Yep, right around there.
Was when the rescinding happened?
80 or 81 is when it happened. And then the guy probably didn't get the rescinded message back out of it.
The church is really bad at that. And we're seeing that in some of these changes. I guess some of the changes were public, but even when they're public, they're not always public. The church will do this thing where it'll be officially public so they can point to it if somebody's looking for it, but you basically have to be looking for it, where the general mass of believing members usually aren't as tuned into that stuff. They're getting their information directly from their leaders and not necessarily poring over details in news presses or news releases. But anyway, they walk back things quietly sometimes, and they certainly, even if they publicize it, they will not address the implications of what they're basically changing and what it meant for everybody that had to live under the previous instructions. And a lot of times that could be a really big deal. And I'm sorry that, Randy, that happened to you and your wife.
Learning lesson. My wife was.
I'm glad you at least found out that it happened to others, because when you don't have that and you don't know that, you can feel singularly alone and evil, and like, gosh, nobody else does this. There must be something wrong with us.
If you're in a group of people, you don't mind so much.
Right.
But when you get singled out,
it's not just you. Then you're not just crazy or evil.
Yeah,
exactly. And we were so kind of relieved to hear that he'd ripped up multiple recommends, and I kind of got the impression that it's because he was old and probably my age now, but he was old and seemed almost
really old,
jealous, kind of like, oh well, if because
I'm not getting any, so neither are you.
And I heard that it was like the wives were complaining the most, and that's what made it happen so fast, at the turnaround to correct that.
Well, I'm so glad that they have gotten rid of that and that they stay out of the bedroom.
Yeah,
nosy pecker.
Actually, Jean, that just brought a new idea to me. So this is where I'm presenting a female voice, but for those who don't know me, I'm pretty open about being asexual. So I don't have that kind of experience to bring to that. But Jean, you just bringing that up just made me think, like, it kind of clicked for me, especially in a time when birth control was either forbidden or extremely heavily looked down on, and then just in general. Women's comfort and pleasure. I mean, in that time period of the church, as well as formerly, I mean, even now there are women who feel that sex is a duty, and that's still also passed down sometimes, I guess, from maybe older bishops and things like that. But in the 80s, I think in the 70s and 80s, even more so, it's a duty. And so if you I could see how, as a wife, especially if sex is painful, or if you've just had kids, or if you just don't want to, that doing some other kind of sexual activity to satisfy your husband would make you feel like, okay, I'm at least doing my duty, as the designated sexual object. I'm satisfying my husband, but I don't have to do it in this exact particular procreative way when it hurts, or I'm recovering from childbirth because they had a lot more children, et cetera, whatever the reason. So yeah, I think, and obviously I certainly hope that a lot of them really enjoyed it and genuinely just wanted to do that. And I'm certain that was also part of it. But I think there's also a real health and wellness implication for women by banning something like that. And so,
oh, sure.
Yeah.
Traumatic, seriously traumatic.
Yeah.
The bishops don't get any training to help people out. And that one thing would actually help a lot of marriages out by advising the opposite of what Randy's bishop was.
Yeah, I think a lot of opposite.
It's like, if you don't do it, I'm tearing up your recommend.
Oh no, because that's still coercive. So that would not be in the right direction.
I would have kept my recommend in that case.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I don't like the idea of it being, I know there's so much being coerced for women in general, but I am overall, I'm happy that there's explicit instruction that they're just to ask the question. I'm curious, okay, if it's just yes or no follow-up questions. I have a hard time seeing a bishop hearing no and then just being like, okay, next question.
Right.
But it's so ingrained for them to want to know details and why, and to fix it. It's still their job to fix it. Am I right?
That's a good point.
Anything in the handbook,
never thought about that.
Yeah, on how to actually handle that, or at least taking that responsibility away from bishops to know any kind of details. And I think not. And I think this is probably another thing that the church doesn't think through. Like its original exclusion policy, the one that dropped in 2015, was clearly not well thought out. And so there were really what should have been very obvious repercussions to that seemed to surprise the brethren. Which again, like anybody with any amount of foresight or ability to put two brain cells together to guess, like would have known, would have been an obvious result of that. So I without knowing more, maybe they do, but I suspect they have not actually closed up all of the other loopholes that are still open in the system. And one is so I have a friend who I wish she'd done a Mormon story. She was close to it, but she has a really unique bishop experience where he seemed really as she was getting married, she was engaged. That's when she started talking with this bishop who was way overly and inappropriately focused on her purity. So he was making her report in weekly on any sexual thought or even just attraction kind of a feeling towards her fiance, which obviously is completely normal and should be when you are actively preparing to get married. I mean, to even be wanting to do that in the first place, there's got to be some feelings of attraction there. But he was pathologizing it and just really, again, meeting with her on a weekly basis and also having her call in and text him way over the top, again, just for the even tiniest little things. So I think he had some kind of weird, sick obsession with her specifically, where he wanted to hear all that kind of stuff. And because she was, trained and raised up in the church, she thought that was normal. It wasn't happening with her fiance, and she did bring that up with her bishop, but he came up with the reason, and you just trust. And that's still, that whole framework is still there, that you trust the bishop. So when a bishop acts out of bounds, that's still a loophole that's not closed for me in this. So the bishop can still do what happened to you and your wife, Randy, or any other number of misbehaviors, because the structure is still in place.
In response to what your question was, if someone actually says no when asked if they are morally clean, I would bet you that has to go right into a confession. If they say no, then he says, well, then we need to talk about it. And I can't be sure, but I'll bet you a lot of these bishops, like the one I was talking about, have a Kleenex box and a bottle of lotion in their drawer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I had my wife that passed away was a gorgeous, gorgeous individual, and the bishop did the same kind of crap. Wants to talk to her every month to see how her activity is. What?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, anyway,
you guys. With Sam Young, when he would read or go through stories, the number of times like bishops would ask girls like what color their underwear was, even in situations of a coerced sexual experience, asking them very personal details like that was never in the handbook, but yet they still did it anyway, so anyway, I just I hope that whatever instruction, like outside of just the bare minimum in the handbook, I hope there was some thought put into it.
Would it be out of line, Jean, if I asked you what color of underwear you're wearing right now?
I would say it would be out of line. Just because he's male doesn't mean it's okay to ask him on air.
I don't like it. Red and black.
You can say none of your business, blue. Jean. Defend yourself.
I was just wondering if it matched his shirt. Because I had Superman underwear when I was a kid.
Yeah, I didn't, so I bought it later after I changed my
to match
status.
Should we go? Okay. So did we go into, or we kind of go into number 2? Yeah, we'll go ahead and play it.
Let's hop into number 2 here. It's kind of along the same lines.
The church announced that all youth interviews with bishops must now include a parent or adult present. No exceptions. Official reason: protect youth and ensure appropriate boundaries. Real reason: again, legal liability. One-on-one interviews with minors created perfect conditions for abuse. And when abuse happened, the church got sued. This policy reduces that exposure. Change 3: missionary age requirement.
So what were the reasons, the unofficial reasons given again for so first of all, I'm happy that it's required. I hope that that's being enforced really well.
Yeah, me too.
But what were the given reasons again? Like something about healthy
he gave
boundaries.
A reason that it increased liability, and putting a child in a bishop's office alone with the bishop
reasons
increased the opportunity for child SA.
Yeah, but what were the claimed reasons for changing at the beginning of that segment? Do you remember?
Oh, no. You want me to jump back?
Yeah, sorry. Or maybe the chat can remember. I forget, because I had a thought about him specifically. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Created perfect conditions for abuse. And when abuse happened,
we need to go back more.
Protect youth and ensure appropriate.
The church announced
that all youth
protect youth and ensure appropriate boundaries. Is that not a tacit admission that without parents there, the youth were not protected?
Yes.
And that was Sam Young's whole thing: protect LDS youth. And now they are protecting and they're saying that they're doing it to protect children, what they excommunicated Sam Young for.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. But they're not
Sam Young.
Just that this policy opened up children to abuse. And I kind of wonder, what's her name? Jennifer. I think it's Jennifer. She's one of the big apologists for the church, especially regarding church abuse and bishops' interviews. It's bothering me. She's on the fair board, and she's got multiple fair talks that came out after like the Arizona Bisbee case.
She's like their expert.
Yeah. Yeah. She is a therapist, sadly, and she works with children that have been, children and, adults that were abused in church scenarios. Yet that's one of the things she really fiercely defended was youth one-on-one interviews with bishops. So I'd be curious to see if she's changed her tune. And honestly, she probably has, to go right along with it. And again, also just completely ignoring the fact that when people pointed out the harm in this, that she defended it. Absolutely. She's also a convert. She has her own issues where she was and then she's public about this, so I'm not outing any like personal information, but or at least it is personal, but it's publicly available. She was assaulted by her pastor, and it boggles my mind that when she would defend the bishop's interviews,
double
she
standard.
would say like, yeah, well, she would say, I wish I had a bishop growing up, and I want to be like, you did it by another name. It was a pastor, and he betrayed your trust, and he hurt you, and that's what's happening with bishops. Like, geez,
right?
It's just, and it's sad to me that she's a therapist, and to know that she has this kind of a cognitive dissonance here, where she's dedicated to, she has an ethical duty with her job to work with victims of abuse, yet she clearly has a very strong loyalty
Like if God
to the
says
institution.
it's okay,
Yeah, to the institution that abused them. I just think that's a huge conflict of interest for a therapist to be an apologist for an organization that, while also being a therapist for the victims of that organization. So anyway, that's pretty wild.
That's right. And once God says it through a prophet, through an online bishop's manual, then it's okay with her.
Yeah. And
I would love to know the figure.
It bothers me so much.
What the church pays for as hush money to get rid of so many of these cases.
Oh, 32 hundreds of thousands of dollars. 30,000 is like the low thing. Like if nothing even happened to you and you just made a claim, the bishop did something to me in 1972, they'll pay you $30,000.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And this therapist would also be maybe not directly paid by the church, but there's a whole network where bishops will like refer. So a lot of her income is also coming from the church. So again, I feel like that's a huge moral, ethical, professional conflict of interest. I may be incorrect about that.
Sure.
Some therapists work independently, but I even if they do work, like that was the whole thing with Jody Hildebrandt too. The church would funnel, even if there's not an official relationship, there's unofficial relationships where bishops will funnel their ward members to somebody.
Right. Like someone who is worthy to listen to them. Someone who's a member of the church. That's what they want. The counseling, send them to LDS counseling because we don't want any heathens.
And they won't hold the church accountable.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they won't. I want to show Trevor's comment here and put us up. Having your mom in the room, if they still ask you about masturbation, would make things worse. Well, they're not supposed to. Again, we don't know if they're actually how well they're following that. And I do agree that that's also awkward, but at the very least, the bishop's not going to be, at least I would hope, would not be asking, a young girl with her mother or father in the room, like what color her panties are, So it is awkward, and it's still a problematic practice overall. And I think maybe that's, Trevor, what you're pointing to. So, and that's important. That's something I don't think we've acknowledged yet. It's still not great to do these, to even ask the question in the first place. Right. Having parents in the room is a step up, but also parents can be uneducated or ignorant or perpetrating, these kinds of things as well. So thanks for that, Trevor. Yep. Any other comments? Sorry, I kind of took over there. Yes, it's an improvement. Are we ready for number 3?
Yeah, you ready to go?
Yeah. I've been promoting the show, so.
Exposure.
Nice.
Change 3. Missionary age requirements relaxed. March 2026. The church quietly updated missionary requirements. Young men can now serve missions at age 18 instead of waiting months after high school graduation. Young women can serve at 18 instead of 19. Official reason: allow more flexibility and earlier service. Real reason: missionary applications are declining. Fewer young men serving. This change expands the pool and gets missionaries out before they lose interest during the gap year. Change 4. Activity status.
Yeah, so the real reason, the church's real reason for the young age is so that 18-year-olds can go on a mission and start dating each other as missionaries. And then they can get married at 21 and start spitting out babies for the church.
At 20, because it should be done at 20.
And that's Dallas Oaks's.
Yeah, he's got a real hard on for the population of the church and the United States in particular. Especially white babies.
I think they should have a mission ball every year where missionaries can bring their favorite sister missionary to the dance. And
no, I find that problematic. They're still so young. Like, they're still such babies. I'm happy. I didn't know that they had dropped the age down for women as well, because I mean, I was happy with the initial one, but even I was still a believer when they initially dropped the male age and the female age, but the women were still a year older. They still wanted there to be at least a little bit of a gap, again, which the implications are interesting. Like, they're still hoping, because they didn't want to send women on missionaries. They did want to make it easier for those who are going, but they still want you to get married. So they were still hoping that women would get married at 18, before being old enough at 19.
The women's missionary. Yeah. The women's mission is to grab a return missionary and get married and start making babies.
Yeah. I dated a guy. On missions then. But I say dated, but I was 16, so I didn't date him exclusively, but a 19-year-old who was about to go on his mission. And it was extremely casual. And I had just I'd only been 16 for a few months when I had met this guy through a friend of a friend. And so I'm glad that as Molly Mormon as I was at 16 and dedicated to the church and seminary and the For Strength of the Youth pamphlet, I carried it with me all the time. I referenced it all the time. I really tried to live my life by these standards. And so again, with this 19-year-old, I wouldn't exclusively date him. I did feel quite mature and grown up that a 19-year-old was even interested in me. So again, that's problematic, but that's how I felt at the time. But even then, the number of not just peers, so it makes sense for other 16-year-old girls to be like, oh, that's so romantic. Are you gonna wait for him? Like, you'll get married right out of high school. That's amazing. Then you don't have to worry about finding a husband. Like, you already got him. You're set.
Start making your wedding plans now.
Yeah, I was just like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. I literally just got old enough to group date, according to the standards that I was following, right? But even what's sad is, I mean, you can understand a little for 16-year-old girls to have that kind of romantic view, but the number of like older women in my ward who would also ask me, like, are you going to wait for him? And I remember one, I said no, because it was the first older person to ask me, and I just had a really genuine reaction. So I think I did one of these, and I was like, oh, no, why would I do that? And the look on her face was just like crestfallen, like, what, and again, I was super, super faithful. I was absolutely looking forward to marriage and wanting it. But even then, I was just like, I just turned 16. I've been on a few dates with a couple guys, and then people are expecting me to promise myself to this man. And he's 19, he's young, but he's still an adult, compared to me, not date for the next 2 years of high school, and then with basically zero dating experience, like have a husband right out the door. And everyone thought that was romantic and amazing. And like, boy, I lucked out.
You were like, so slow lucky. Down. We're not in the
hold
FLDS.
On a second. Wait.
We're not in the fundamentalist LDS church.
Yeah.
This is still the mainstream one.
Yeah.
Maybe they can start having couples missions.
But 18, I would have been 18, a legally adult, and no worry time, no waiting time of wondering, like, I'm picked, I'm good. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good comment, Hallie. More pressure on the parents to pay for the missions, no gap to save money. Did a lot of people say I tried to save money for mine, and I saved up a little bit, but I feel like the parents that can afford it, and the ones that can't. I don't know if that year makes a huge difference or not. That would be nice, Trevor, if they would at least pay for
here's my prediction.
I don't think that's happening anytime soon. You can you take the money out of their cold dead fingers is kind of, I think.
Here's what I think will happen with this suggestion is that they'll say when you complete your mission and you would start attending BYU, we'll give you credit toward your education,
like grant money.
Like a grant.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to do something because they're hemorrhaging return missionaries right now.
Yeah.
Because there'll be an incentive to stay longer, and people would be so grateful. It'll be like, wow, the church is giving me money. It's like, fuck, it was your own money.
Right. Just giving you back your own. Do you think it's helping?
On my mission, I can't tell you how many people, when I had introduced myself in Spain, they'd say, oh, you're the cult, right?
Oh, no. Yeah.
And I'd say, no, we're not a cult. I didn't think we were at the time. Now I know a little better, but yeah. You guys ready for number 4?
I want to read that comment. So the Mormon atheist says they send you, sorry, we both clicked on it. According to the cost that his brother's choices based on finances, where to send his nephew. So that's interesting. I know the church used to be that way, where richer people tended to go to more high cost of living areas. I think Australia and Japan were among the high ones. But then the church, I thought, kind of democratized it, and everyone paid the same across the board. And during COVID, I know they added, because it was $400 a month, and then during COVID, they made it $500 a month, and that was flat for everything. So have they gone back to like a tiered system? That's new to me.
I thought it was called of God. I thought God was decided who went where.
He says his nephew's on his mission now. So that's new if they've brought that back. Yeah. Because sometimes they did send like poorer people to the Morks, and it was a bigger burden for them to go to certain countries. I think that's ultimately why they democratized it. Yeah. No, the cost of that, but that's always been true. The Mormon atheist, the cost of living is different in all places, but the church still made it. I mean, when I went, it was $400 per missionary. But it didn't matter if it was foreign or domestic.
The elders that went to South America would always come back talking about how they had maids.
Yeah. And cook. Yeah, they would cook for them, clean for them.
So cheap. It was so cheap.
I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you again, Randy. In South America, when we were of age, the elders got maids for just like $2 a week or something.
Yeah. See, we barely had enough food. We barely had enough to live on, and we couldn't afford to buy gas to heat our water with, because you'd have to have one of those gas, like a barbecue gas thing, and that would turn on a flame, and the water would flow through the pipes and heat up. And we rarely had enough money to have gas to heat our water, so we took cold showers, which probably didn't kill us, but.
And it was good for the masturbation thing.
Well,
yeah, they didn't have to worry about that. That's the real reason. They're like, we're not letting these guys have hot showers. Yeah. Do you think that having missionaries go out younger, though, is actually helping retention or making it worse?
Well, we'll find out, because it's pretty new.
All I know is prophecy around corners.
It's been
President
for men for a while, hasn't it? Because there was always 19, and then I was still an active member when they dropped it to 18 for men, 19 for women. So it's just having dropped women to 18 is new, but overall, I don't think the move to 18 is really. I don't think it bumped up the retention rate.
There are legacy missionaries, like Trevor's saying. The rich people have their kids go to nicer countries or where they went and stuff like that.
Yeah, I bet if you were connected,
yeah,
you probably had safer places and more decent places. Yeah,
I'm sure I was called to Spain because I took Spanish classes in high school.
Well, I took,
and you needed,
and I didn't go to
needed cold showers.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Should we do the next one, or?
Heck yeah.
All right.
Gene, I'll tell you what. Would you manage the arrangement of the people, and I'll manage the video?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I can pull it up. Is this what you're meaning?
Yeah. Thanks.
This redefined. This one was buried in a handbook update. This change expands the pool and gets missionaries out before they lose interest during the gap year. Change 4. Activity status redefined. This one was buried in a handbook update. The church changed how it counts active members. Previously, active meant attending at least once a month. Now, active means any engagement with church programs, including online. Even watching General Conference online counts. Official reason: recognize diverse forms of engagement. Real reason: activity rates are collapsing. Redefining what counts as active artificially inflates the numbers and makes the crisis look less severe. Change 5.
Sorry.
So they count.
I love the spelling on these. One of the reasons said like raccoons or something like that. REACOONS. Sorry.
This is French spelling.
Okay.
So
anyhow,
love
chastity was like charity or something.
I just thought of something. Even if you say LSD instead of LDS, that counts as an engagement in the church. But anyway, maybe. I went to the ward dinner. I went to the ward dinner last week, and so I am now an active Mormon.
Is it per year? Member. That's what I wanted. It used to be once per month, so I'm guessing it's like, if General Conference counts, then yeah, I'm guessing within at least 6 months, but I'm guessing per year. Yeah, so that means all of the ex-Mo podcasters, or even just ex-Mormons who watch conference with their family, or just to know what their family is hearing, but also the shows that do the debriefs. We're all active. Everybody's active. If you haven't removed your record, so I have, so I'm still an apostate, even if I do end up watching conference. But that just made a lot of apostates active members of the church now, and I love that.
That's why the numbers are growing. And I watch Julia Sanders recap, so I'm an active member.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
I wanted to say, like, the whole recognize diverse forms of engagement is one of the reasons. Like, the church has never wanted to recognize diverse forms of anything ever. Whether it's cultural backgrounds or even just diverse families, unless we're talking about polygamous families. But any kind of non-traditional family structure. And then I seem to recall during COVID, I mean, they had the technology and they brought that out for COVID, but I feel like they fought the online virtual meetings during COVID quite a lot, and especially when Mr. Dallin Oaks saw this as like an impingement on freedom of religion to quarantine at home and to protect your family, to protect your children and any other vulnerable ones from being exposed to a pandemic that there wasn't a vaccine for yet. But anyway, he wasn't the prophet. I don't know. Yeah. Does anybody else remember that? The church was reluctant, and I feel like as soon as they could pull that back and try to get people back in seats, that's what they wanted. Even though there were so many people benefited by having online church, including the elderly, a lot of people that don't have easy ways to get to church, or those with disabilities or illnesses or pain, or new moms. How great to be able to attend church and breastfeed your baby in your living room rather than having to do it in a diaper smelling, side hall with a microphone attached, it's something the church should have been able to do a long time ago, even if it was just on a case-by-case basis for particular members that had trouble coming for whatever reason, or needed, again, for health or whatever reasons, to stay at home. But now all of a sudden they want to recognize diverse forms of engagement.
Right.
Okay. Why couldn't they have done it for the right reasons a long time ago? That's what I was saying at the beginning. You can do the right thing for the wrong reason. And it seems like if the church does anything right, it's almost a guarantee it's for the wrong reason. Glad it's happening, but it's almost always for the wrong reason.
Right. Here we go.
And makes the crisis look less severe. Change 5. Tithing settlement, now optional. December 2025 technically, but implemented in 2026. The church announced that annual tithing, settlement meetings with the bishop, are now optional, not required. Official reason: reduce administrative burden on bishops. Real reason: fewer members are paying tithing, and confronting them annually about it was driving them away faster. Making it optional reduces the pressure and the guilt. Now, here is my second question for you. Do these changes feel like revelation from God or solutions to institutional problems? Let me know in the comments.
Right.
But wait,
pause there,
because here is where
Yes.
And it does go into a point, but to discuss this point, this one I feel less ecstatic about. Like the other ones, it's like maybe for missionary age, but the activity status, the temple recommend having parents there and not asking personal follow-up questions about chastity. Those are all good things for the members. I think not having to do tithing settlement is also a good thing, but this is one that I feel like I guess the reason why I dislike it is that this is one of the things that I feel like makes members feel like the church is more progressive than it really is. Does that make sense? There's some changes the church makes that just allows its members to kind of gaslight past members about the importance of certain things. And I think this one benefits the church more than it benefits members, if that makes sense. Whereas these other ones, I don't think benefit the church because the church is losing a little bit of control, and coercion that does keep and shame that keeps members in, if that makes sense. So the church is losing something there. But for this one, I think the video said it was like to reduce guilt that members feel. And I think a lot more members are feeling a lot less guilty about not paying tithing. So I think some might feel guilty about tithing settlement and want to avoid it and feel like failures in a way. But I also think it forces members to confront, especially when they know get more and more how rich the church is, how many resources it has. I think it's a place where a lot of cognitive dissonance happens, especially when looking at all of the bad things that are happening. And especially when there's scandals around child abuse and whatnot, that when you're getting a shakedown for money, especially after all that the members give, if they give and they give and they give and they give, and then that's what they get the shakedown for. So I don't think it's so much guilt.
It's probably people on the edge anyway. So people that are going for their temple recommend are probably going to say they're tithing because they want to keep their temple recommends active.
Yeah.
But the other people that were like, am I going to go to church or not? Or am I going to give the bishop $30,000 from my inheritance or some other newfound money? Then maybe that'll be optional. I don't know. True.
Maybe if they're still in the church. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Randy.
If I was a TBM, again, you can bet your ass that I'm not going to pay tithing, knowing, first of all, that it doesn't go to the poor. It doesn't go to feeding his sheep. It goes to their investment funds. And secondly, with $360 billion, no one would ever really have to pay tithing again. But they say it's for your benefit. And,
And right from the top, there's this.
The Lord does not need your money.
There you go. So we have to play that once a show, no matter what.
From Real for Life that you put up. This confirms they don't need tithing anymore. That's a good point, implication of it. And I want to point out again here, this will not acknowledge any of the past harm and judgment placed on members. It's just going to go in members' minds like it was always optional. And so again, people who lost temple recommends over the tithing shakedown, people who were told and basically shamed for not paying a full tithe, that they're ungrateful to God, or they're ungrateful for Jesus' atonement, that they're being selfish by keeping this money. There's so much shame and judgment put on that. And again, I'm glad that that's not happening to members, but that does mean that there's going to be more gaslighting for all the members that went through it before. And we are going to be blamed for our bad tithing settlement experiences as if they were never mandatory.
One of my dear relatives, every time I try to just broach the subject of changes in the church, her first response is, "Oh no, it's always been like that. The prophet could command everyone to wear bright pink to the meetings. And if you say that's a change, there are members that'll say, no, I'm pretty sure it's always been like that. They're just enforcing it now." That's always the go-to.
Someday, in order to get to heaven, you'll have to believe that the sky is orange. And people say, yeah, we always believe that.
How many fingers am I holding up?
Right.
That'll be the question to get in. I did a movie reference. I'm excited. No, I was Trevor's comment. I was gonna say, I'm sure the church won't mention to members that tithing settlement is optional. I don't know if they ever like explicitly said it was mandatory either. It was just pretty well implied. I think the word clerks are still gonna go after you. And try to get you tithing settlement. You can sign up. You can. Let's get you in. Like that kind of.
I'm not saying you have to pay tithing, but if you don't pay tithing, the devil is going to burn your house down. Tithing.
The bishop's been wondering when you're coming. Why don't you want to see the bishop? I'm sure they'll pull out other things. Yeah. Oh, I had a story about the modified memory thing. What part of my story when I did my Mormon Stories interview with John DeLynn, I talked about the ceremony and specifically for me having to like put the veil over my face was something really, as much as I tried really hard for it to be spiritual, it was deeply hurtful to me every time I had to do it. And
God didn't want to see your face.
Right. That there's, because that's always how they put it. It was just like, it's a respect thing that women do it, but if men don't do it, does that mean that's disrespectful for them? Why is it not disrespectful for men, but it is disrespectful for women to show their face? Like, what kind of a dad is that?
At the last minute, Randy and I talked about allowing you on the show without wearing a veil.
I appreciate that because I might have had a problem with that. but John made that was that clip of that became a short, and those get a lot more views than the 7 hours in the long form that I did. And so I remember I engaged with that one in particular when the comments started coming out, and there was a woman, and I think at the time that the short had gone out, I think at the time of my interview, they had stopped having that be part of the ceremony, but only just barely. Like within a year or two of me losing my testimony, did they end that part of the ceremony. Somewhere very close. So there was a woman that she will write on the comments calling me a liar, and of course a paid actor and all this kind of stuff to be on the show. So right out of the gate, calling me a liar, and she used present tense. She says the temple does not require that. She didn't say, and that was deceitful, and I knew that was deceitful, and I knew she knew it was deceitful when she wrote it. So I pushed back and I said it did though, and I think. I don't know if it was in a reply or maybe it was in her original comment. She defended herself and she said, I've been going for 20 years. And so then I was like, well, then now I really know you're lying because this was a very recent change. And so it's really fascinating that you feel fine again, as a member, as someone who's supposedly supposed to be very honest and virtuous compared to an evil heathen atheist like me, but to blatantly lie online to defend the church and try to pretend like
it's a total Mormon thing to do.
Yeah, it was the policy for your whole life of going to the church the past 20 years when you know that that's not true. But honestly, when you're in a cult, when you're told to believe something different, you do have the ability, you are trained in the ability to be able to do that. So I do think she knew Mormonism. She was being deceitful. I think it's when she said it, I think she started to believe it herself and just kind of move on from there.
Yeah, that's dear relative
makes liars of us all.
One of the talking subjects was, I said to her before 1990, the temple, the initiatory work, the women would have to promise to obey their husbands as their husbands promised to obey God. And she said, and she's been going to the temple her whole life, and she's older than I am. She says, no, sir, that was never part of it. What? How do you just blatantly, well, like we're saying, it's brainwashing. I distinctly remember that. And She has to tell me her new name, but I don't have to tell her mine.
Yep.
And
I think that's still accurate.
Looking for, Randy.
What's that?
These are not the droids you're looking for. That's all you have to do is there's a new revelation, and it's all, everything else is washed away.
I know it was changed by the time I got there. It was still for women to hearken to their husbands. It is now, women can now hearken directly to God. But yeah, sorry, I got distracted by Jay's comment. Yeah, it wasn't Jasmine I was talking about, but yeah, also I have strong words and thoughts about her as well, for the same reason, not protecting children.
Yeah.
We just really have a culture of protecting.
They're definitely sisters in the Lord.
Yeah. Protecting predators over children. Yeah.
Whatever makes the church sound the best, is what they'll go with.
Yeah.
Okay, we ready for number whatever? Yeah,
I think this is the summary bit, right? Because there was 5 things. No, there's one more. Okay, yeah, sorry.
This is the big one. The big one.
This is the different one.
Everybody, everything.
Gets interesting.
Randy's not moving.
Everything I just told you makes sense if you see the church as a corporation managing crisis, legal liability, declining participation, financial pressure, public relations disasters. But there is one policy change I have not mentioned yet, and this one does not fit the pattern. March 2026, buried in a routine handbook update. Almost no press coverage. Most members do not even know it happened. The church changed the definition of apostasy. For over a century, apostasy meant publicly opposing church leaders, teaching false doctrine, or joining another church. The new definition adds something. Publicly contradicting church policies or leaders on social media now qualifies as apostasy. Let me read you the exact language from the 2026 General Handbook Update. Apostasy includes repeatedly acting in clear and deliberate public opposition to the church, its doctrine, its policies, or its leaders. Did you catch that? Policies. Opposing church doctrine has always been apostasy. But now, publicly criticizing church policies, things that are not doctrine, things that change regularly, is also apostasy. What does this mean in practice? If you publicly criticize the temple recommend interview changes, apostasy. If you publicly oppose the youth interview policy, apostasy. If you post on social media that you disagree with how the church handles abuse cases, apostasy. If you share your concerns about financial transparency, apostasy. This is not about doctrine. This is about control.
So I think it's if I wasn't an apostate before, I sure as hell am now.
But so also our Ward Radio and Jacob Hansen and the
yes, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, there's not a single Mormon podcaster now that has not said something
a little bit
about a policy. They all have something that they dislike about the church and have been open about it. So we're all active members of the church now, and we're all apostates. We're just indistinguishable from each other now. I guess we're all in the same soup.
That's
what their plan is.
Because President Oaks in his inauguratory talk at BYU warned the members to stay away from anti-Mormon or ex-Mormon podcasts. And then Neil A. Anderson said the same thing, and he re-emphasized it. And now they're even redefining what's an apostate. They don't want anyone out there talking negatively about the church.
And Oaks had said previously, when he was not the prophet, he did say something like that it was apostasy, but it was not in the handbook. So that was just him being an apostle and a wannabe prophet. So I can be fact checked on that. But I feel like I remember Dallin already saying something like that earlier, that policies also need to be obeyed. But now it is canon, I guess, officially. And this is something to bring up. When we talk about the handbook really is like more scripture of the church than anything else. The church does not abide by what's put in the Doctrine and Covenants for how the church should run. It's the handbook. The handbook reflects the church more than any of its doctrines or theologies or any lessons in Sunday school or Relief Society or priesthood. The handbook is the church.
So I was going to say that I saw the light, like I got a revelation, sort of.
A pillar of light. Did it descend? Sorry.
So if you think about it, sometimes nonprofits have to be whittled down. They have to be ended. You have to do stuff with the assets, right? And so that what they're setting themselves up so they can excommunicate just about everybody they want, except for the family members, the Mormon royalty, and then they're just going to set up $1 billion nonprofits for each of their descendants, and they're going to have their little kingdoms and pay themselves 6-figure salaries.
You think they're giving up the game?
They're poised for it as a what do you call it? Poison pill. That's what corporations do, like to avoid a takeover.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm so glad you said that, Gene, because one of my recent Facebook posts and TikTok posts talks about the money that they're squandering and collecting and hoarding. And my big question that I put out to these members who are bitching because I'm saying something like this, they're defending it, and I asked them, where does it end? Where does this road lead to? Because by 2040, we're supposed to have $1 trillion. What is the end road for that money? What are they one day going to say, now we're going to split it up amongst all the members? Or do they feel like they're going to have to pay Christ when he returns?
Exactly. Jesus is going to come and he's going to need that $1 trillion.
That's right.
Right.
Even Jesus is on payola. He's like, I'm not coming back until you guys have $1 trillion. No way.
Can't do anything without it.
It's a long trip.
He doesn't have the power without Mormon money.
Show me
and
the
land.
money.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Jay. Yeah.
Amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we could talk about other changes too. And you want to let anybody who wants to come in to show? If anybody,
of course. Yeah, we'd love to have your opinions. Come on in.
If you want to talk about changes, and I got rejected for doing my own link to the show.
Oh, interesting.
What?
Can you try?
I can try.
Copy and pasting it.
Do you want to read Trevor's comment there? I thought that was a good one. We'll see if it'll let me do it.
Yeah, they're a winner when it comes to money because they're so good at hoarding it. It's all about greed. Yep. And I just don't know what they're going to spend it on. There's got to be some goal that we don't know about. Building a new city.
I think Gene had it. I think it's going to be real estate ventures for and construction for the top. I think that's what they're doing. I think that's where a lot of it's getting funneled anyway, or various business ventures. Lots health. I hear hospitals are a good investment. You can take them over, make them for profit for you. All right. It looks like I think I got one. Do you guys see my link? My first one was rejected, but it looks like another one went through. Yeah, City of Enoch. You know, I was just thinking the other day. There's so many things that the church gets backwards, but especially there are good things in the Book of Mormon. And I was thinking about the scriptures that talk about how, basically, was it the City of Enoch? I'm getting my Bible and Book of Mormon mixed up now. I need to get back into it, but not really. I don't want to. Anyway, they didn't have this translated in the Book of Mormon, but when they had kind of like the perfect life and everybody, I remember the scripture says like basically everyone shared everything and they had no poor among them. And I just think that's so backwards from what Mormonism is today. That's actually not a bad ideal, but I think in Mormonism today, the idea is that everyone, like ideal society, there's nobody poor because it's an individual choice and everybody just picks themselves up by their bootstraps. and just isn't poor without any kind of view on the systemic, like the rich taking the most amount of resources and basically making sure that other people are poor. But it even spells it out in the Book of Mormon that the reason why that started to end is because there were certain members of the society that started to lift themselves up in pride and wear like fancy and costly apparel. So they were wanting to differentiate themselves from other people in a class kind of a system. And that's what ruined their perfect society. But it's all just now we get all the money, and it's wild when you think the church has enough to solve huge problems like world hunger, but on top of that, tons of vaccinations for very easily treatable diseases for children across the world. Like it could do all of it. It wouldn't even have to pick like only one thing. You can either feed all the children or vaccinate all the children. Like it could do all of them a dozen times over. So yeah.
So what is the end game, Maven? Let's say that they eventually get to that $1 trillion, and of course, the more that they have,
well, honestly, they can buy politicians and be part of the new fascist world order. I think ultimately, money is power, and that's what they want. And I think that's what they are enriched personally. But a lot of members think that if you're not rolling around in a Rolls Royce, that if you're not displaying wealth just for the status and the ability to do so, that you can't be doing something for the money. But money is power, so it doesn't have to be for what you can flash off and show to other people, but for the politicians that you can buy. And that's a lot. And the church has been able to gain a lot more power recently than it might otherwise would have if it didn't tamper with elections. And especially we know in Utah, it does.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's other changes, like I gave up Mormonism for Lent because I want to be more Catholically Mormon. I'm just teasing.
So does the church, apparently.
Yeah, but the church's Palm Sunday is a big deal now.
Yeah.
Randy has predicted that there will be an ash on the forehead that's left over from some Wednesday earlier that week on an apostle's forehead. Because they're so busy, they don't have.
Oh, that'd be so cringy
for the world. They don't have time to wash off their forehead.
Of course.
You know what? They probably will put their cigarettes out, and that's where they get the ashes. I don't know where the ashes come from. Is it from like Hollywood or something?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I forget.
Hollywood's in Southern California. Hollywood from Southern California somewhere.
Isn't it like, don't you burn?
Near Los Angeles.
No, I gotta Google it now.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's good. That's a good idea, Gene. The Easter is starting to be recognized. I should say the church is starting to recognize Easter as a Christian kind of thing, which we never have before. We kind of just ignored it.
No, we gave talks about it on a regular, normal Sunday.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
The Easter talks would be about the resurrection.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as the traditions go.
Yeah.
They never participated in that.
The ash comes by burning the blessed palms from the previous year's Palm Sunday celebration. Oh. There's probably a comment that got to it before I did, but I was on a different screen for that.
This is
maybe
sort of
Palm Sunday
enough.
Is where they burn those palm fronds.
Somebody, I don't remember where I saw this. Somebody posted something from a member of the church who said something that they hoped that the church's example, like through Lent or through Easter, would like motivate or give hope to other Christian religions. And I thought the same thing, that the person who commented on it was like, the church just barely adopting this hundreds of years old tradition that has been sincerely adopted by all these other religions before us. Maybe Maven, us doing it will motivate them, and they'll find a lot of inspiration from it.
When you're 0.002 of the world's population, you have a lot of clout.
Yeah. And when you're a latecomer to like an extremely old
when you don't
tradition,
believe it for 200 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Like people have already been doing it. But that's another kind of sentiment that's kind of silly, but I've seen in Mormonism. I think the most extreme one, and I still can't find this quote. If anybody can find it, I know I specifically read it somewhere. It might not have been in general conference. That might be why it's harder for me to find, but it was probably spoken to women. So either like a women's conference. Anyway, if someone can find the quote for me, but it was literally someone said something to the tune that with the decline in birth rates and things, that soon there'll be a day where basically the only people having children are Mormons. And I just remember that even as a member, like really silly, because I was like, I'm pretty sure people had babies just fine before Mormonism even existed. And like, but it was just this idea that we're the only ones that are so family focused that as the world becomes more worldly, no one will ever want children but Mormons, and it literally be up to Mormons to keep the world's population going. It's an old quote. I think it's from the 80s. I think at the earliest, I don't know, maybe some early 90s, maybe someone would have said it there, but I don't think so. I think it would have been 80s or earlier. And anyway, I would like to find the source for that again, if anybody else finds that.
And I want to self-correct here, because there have been some great Easter pageants in the past by the church.
Right.
You know, where they
That's true.
They have the whole play and everything. I used to love that. So they did do that, but now it would not surprise me if we start seeing, you know, ashes. Yeah. I smoke a cigar every month or so. I like a good cigar. I'll start keeping those ashes.
Yeah, just don't.
And tell people it's from the palm trees.
Yeah. So I think we're wrapped. I don't know if we don't have anyone that wants to share, or if we're having like link issues or not. I haven't seen anyone pop up. But I've got a funny Portland story to share that has nothing to do with anything we've said. If anyone wants just some idle chit chat, or do we do that in the after show? Is there an after show? Not if the link doesn't work, right?
I want to hear your Portland story.
Okay. All right. So it's going to have a lot of tangents because you guys are going to get my full ADHD. I'm not medicated. I lent my car to a new friend that I've made, and her situation, she needed it more, and I can take public transit to my job. I work the swing shift 2 to 10 p.m. and I'm able to just take one singular bus line. Anyway, so I was going home after 10 p.m. The bus was running a little late, and because of that, I still ended up missing it, and I had to take an alternate route. So this one I had a transfer stop instead of just one straight shot. So I take the first part of the bus, and I get to my little transfer section. I'm waiting at the bus for, Randy's back. Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
We had a blank screen for you there for a second. Yeah. So I'm in like a really dodgy part of town, and it's almost 11 o'clock at night, and I'm, unfamiliar bus stop. I'm waiting for the second bus that's going to take me, all the way or close enough to home. So as I'm sitting there, a guy came up to me, presumably a homeless man, and he was asking for cigarettes, which is really common. And I just said, no, I don't smoke. I don't have any. I'm sorry. And then he was like, well, you got some, do you have some cash or something? And I said, nope, sorry, I don't. I do everything digitally now, so I don't have cash either. And then he shows me his arm, and he has this like sweet, cool knife. Like, I mean, it's a sheath, but it was a really uniquely shaped one. Had a really cool like little scabbard with it, and it was like wrapped around his arm. It was like his arm knife, and he was just like, I'll sell this to you for $20. And of course, my ADHD brain, 11 o'clock at night, my first thought was, ooh, that's a really nice knife. And so for a second, I almost had a really cool story about getting a really cool knife off a random person at a bus station. But luckily, the adult in my brain stepped in and was like, no, we do not need a new knife. And we also don't have $20. And we're not going to go to a convenience store or an ATM in this part of town that we don't know. And we're, to get cash for somebody we don't know for a knife that we don't need. And we are not going to miss the last bus. Anyway, I had a couple dollars. I had like $4 or something. So I said, I'll just give you the $4 I have. You can keep the knife or sell it to the next guy or whatever. And he's just like, well, I'm not trying to rob you. He starts like patting down his pockets, and he's like, you want some dinosaur stickers? And so I was like, sure. So he hands me this tin. It's got dinosaurs on it. I think it's from Dollar Tree or something. I open it up. It has stickers in it. I put those in my purse. It has something else in it. I'm not sure what it is, but I know maybe what kind of type of thing it was. So I was like, do you want this back? I don't think I need this. And he was just like, oh yeah. And he takes that back and he puts it in his pocket. And then I was like, you want to keep the tin too? Because I've already learned those are also good for holding loose cigarettes that you do end up able to bum off of other people. So he's like, yeah. So I give him back the 10. I've got dinosaur stickers. I'm hoping he feels that that's an even enough trade. But to make sure he does, because this is something I think that actually is really cool about homeless people. If they take something from you, they almost always do want to give something back if they can. If they've been able to, they've always tried to do some kind of a trade or negotiation. So that's why I was right. I was like, if he doesn't feel like it's a fair enough negotiation, there's going to be more. And I was right. There's more. But I did try to say, like, even I'm a 40-year-old woman, but I really do love the dinosaur stickers. Like, I'm genuinely happy with this trade. My niece and nephew love dinosaurs. This will be great. So he's just like, oh, you got a niece and nephew? And I was like, yeah. So then he starts patting the pockets again. And he pulls out this little tiny Tonka toy little bin. And it has like the tiniest little ladder fire truck inside that I've ever seen. It was like this big. So I got a little toy fire truck. And my bus came and I was sitting on my bus with my dinosaur stickers and my fire truck. And I was just like, I haven't had this many like funny public facing stories, honestly, since my mission. That was the only other time that I would have kind of like really interesting interactions with people. But yeah, I was just like, cool.
That's really sweet that he
he
was
nice.
Looking for things to give to you.
Yeah. To make it fair. His name was Tiger.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's my story, guys. That's my adventure for you.
That's your story, and you're sticking to it, huh?
Yeah,
there are
Jay's
billions
saying,
of nice people in the world.
Yeah, and most homeless people are nice, even if they're on something or really jonesing for something.
You want Jay's?
Yeah, Jay Castro says, I got a drill pet sit in Portland for $12 from a guy outside of a convenience store. Trevor's right on him. You bought stolen goods, Jay. Oh, we both took it down. Sorry. Yeah. Once I knew that the part of town I was in, I didn't know till after. But I've been there before, like as a security guard. I've been like in the dodgy parts of town overnight watching equipment for the film industry for the first company that I worked for. I work at an office building now. If there's anybody out there that hearing that makes them very concerned for my safety, don't worry, I am safe. Trevor, I'm glad it had a good ending, Maven. I was worried for a little bit, which is funny because I feel, again, with security and stuff, I feel like I have pretty good situational awareness, and I feel like I have a good sense of safety. But yeah, no, honestly, like when he brought his arm up to show me the knife, like I knew he was showing it to me, and so like I didn't feel scared at all.
You didn't think he was going to stab you with it?
No, not for a second. I laughed when he said, like, I'm not trying to rob you, when I said I would just give him the $4. You know, I was just like, I don't feel like you're robbing me. I don't have enough for the knife, but it's $4. That can start your next stash for whatever you get. So, but
you know, like how some grocery stores will like have a bag of groceries for the millionth customer or something like that. If we had something, we would give Hallie an award, because Randy does this actually more often than I even know. He changes his glasses in the show.
It's pink.
And this is the first comment.
Talking about.
How many times has he done it, Hallie? Did you start with green? I know you had a red kind of ombre one. Were there green ones, or am I just like thinking back to?
I haven't.
He has no idea what you're talking about.
No,
so
listen,
Chuck is here.
I've been doing this since I started podcasting. No one has ever caught on, and no one has ever mentioned something. So whichever one of you mentioned it first,
you get a
congratulations.
Prize. I got a
you
little.
You get to take Randy out to lunch.
You can take Randy to lunch. Or if you'd like some dinosaur
Chuck.
Stickers, let me know. I got some.
Chuck from the South.
Hi, Chuck.
Hey, hello, how are you doing? Reporting from Northeast Louisiana, city of Monroe, Louisiana. I'm at the top of the state. I'm not near New Orleans. I'm at the top of the state. I'm close to Arkansas.
Oh,
and I'm here reporting on while we're in the middle of 40 days of Lent. And I just happen to chime in. You all just talking about ashes. I'm not Catholic. I didn't grow up. I wasn't born and raised Catholic. I just went to Catholic school. I'm a graduate Catholic. I'm a I went to Catholic school majority of my years of schooling. The only time I was in public schools, 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, and I saw many masses. And I remember the priests taking the palms and making fires. Good, how are you doing? And making fires and burning the ashes. I saw that the fires during mass, and then when they get to it goes to ashes, and people come up and get their ashes. That was on Ash Wednesday. Like I said, I saw this from going to Catholic school. Like I said, I'm not Catholic. I just spent the majority of my years in Catholic school.
So they would distribute the ashes out to people so that they can put them on themselves, or does it require a priest?
I know the priests. Yeah, the priests and those in the church, those who are like the lay people in the church, they distribute the ashes. You didn't have to be Catholic to do that. Like communion, that's only for Catholics.
I went to a few masses, but never Ash Wednesday as a missionary.
Oh yeah,
that's probably why. A regular mass is okay, but
you were one of those. See, I've never been in LDS. I've met people who are former members, and I've become acquainted with former members like John Dillon and all of the others. Yeah. And then I've learned a lot from you all, and I heard about your different adventures on your missions, and I said, man, gosh, that's quite dangerous too. And I started hearing all these stories. I said, gosh, oh gosh. See, I was born in Black Baptist tradition, and being born and raised Baptist, we didn't have all that kind of stuff going on. There's no temples and no secrets and all these type things. People say, hey, come on, hey, you want to come to, hey, when you come to church, and that's what it is. And there were no secrets kept. They just want you to come on in.
Yeah. Was it Kojic? Church of what is it? Kojic, Church of Jesus. Kojic was a thing in Memphis when I lived there. Very, very Southern Baptist thing. Was that the church you belonged to?
No, I belonged to the National Baptist Convention. I was part of the Baptist Convention. No, I was Baptist. Great. No, that's just the Church of God in Christ. That's a different black denomination. I was part of the National Baptist Convention. Yeah, I was part of the National Baptist Convention. The guy who was one of the known ministers in the National Baptist Convention was who Dr. Martin King picked up the bus boycott. Dr. Reverend T.J. Jemison, that's where he was a minister in the National Baptist Convention. He did the 1953 bus boycott in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That's what Dr. Martin King picked up the bus boycott in Montgomery from T.J. Jemison, Reverend Jemison, and I was part of the National Baptist Convention. Yeah, totally different. Yes, is it true? Most people. Catholic. Yeah, because majority of the people that end up going to Catholic school are not Catholic. If they're going to just limit to Catholics, they wouldn't have the enrollment that they have in Catholic school.
On the East Coast, a lot of Mormons would send their children, the wealthier Mormons would send their children to Catholic schools.
You know what? There are here, we're the only Catholic high school here in Monroe, Louisiana, St. Frederick High School, where I graduated from in 1993. There are LDS families who their children graduate from St. Frederick, and they even had a guy when I was in school. He came out 2 years after me, who's a Sikh. He wore his turban to school with his uniform. He practiced, his family practiced Sikhism. They own convenience stores around here. And what happened? He graduated. He's a smart guy. He ended up going. Show you, he went from one Christian school to the other. He ended up going to college at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
There's a bit of an echo.
Yeah.
Is that me?
I don't know if it's on Chuck's end, if he has his phone and a laptop or whatever. But anyway, Chuck, what do you think about the changes that the Mormon Church is doing?
I can't speak for the Latter-day Saints, not being a member, and I'll be out of place doing that about those changes. And this is what's happening. It's not just in the Latter-day Saints. It's in many faiths. Talking about it's always a huge discussion about changes, about what needs to change. Because let's face it, what people stuck on traditions. You see in these congregations. I always tell people, people stuck in traditions, those pews are going to become vacant, and they have become vacant. And we saw the vacancy during the pandemic. And now, like I'm talking to you all now, that's what people are doing now. They're not sitting up in these pews, and these people with these old ways of thinking. And many young people are leaving these faiths as well. They're not going to be a part of it. That's why a lot of them go to these affirming faiths now. Those that say, hey, look. Come as you are. Those who may have been shunned by the traditional churches, they're coming into affirming faiths for safety. Because let's face it, in these traditional faiths, a lot of the ones that have been shunned, many of them have ended up having facing depression, or they've committed suicide.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
I think that
in general is having a lot of doubling down, because there are a lot of things that matter a lot now that didn't matter so much years and years ago. Like especially like homophobia and transphobia. The homophobia has been around for a long time, but Mormon history, Chuck, I don't know if you've learned enough to know this, but actually one of Brigham Young's sons was a falsetto singer, and he went by the stage name. Sorry, I'm muting Chuck so that it doesn't echo through. But anyway, the Brigham Young's son's stage name was Madame Paterini, and would dress as a woman, would sing, and even performed for, I think, John Taylor, which was the third Mormon prophet. So, so a fully male dressing up as a woman, singing as a woman. Even the prophet complimented her falsetto voice, that it was so natural sounding. And
really,
yeah. Madame Paterini. I think there's a beer named after it too. I think one of the cheeky breweries in Salt Lake. But it wasn't a big deal at all. But today it would be a huge deal. But it's kind of a cultural counter movement. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Did you know that, Chuck?
I heard about some brewery. I said, wait a minute, the Mormons and alcohol?
Oh, yeah.
No, I heard about that.
Apostate. Well, early Mormons had alcohol. But
that's why I heard. I've been hearing this, and you know what? I think about that. This is you see a lot of this, and you start talking about Brigham Young and all that. The only person I know of that family, my being a sports person, is I found he's in that family is Steve Young, legendary quarterback. He's one of Brigham Young's great grandsons, I think. I watched a lot of Steve Young. I watched him at BYU on television. And I watched him in the NFL.
Yep. I once played catch with Steve Young.
Oh.
Huh? What are you saying?
Gene
I played catch on the sidelines.
He was on the chain game. What do you call that? Where you move the chains in the football game in college, right? And Steve Young was playing catch with him at the football.
That's a down box. I played football in high school, and I know about the down boxes.
Oh, down box.
Yeah. I'm a former high school football player.
The whole group of us sometimes is called the chain game.
Yeah, chain game. Same thing. Yeah, move the chains.
Move the chains.
Yeah. I remember all those BYU quarterbacks that Lavelle Edwards had of Robbie Bosco and Jim McMahon with his crazy. I don't know how he made it going to BYU. He would have been like myself. I don't know how he made it going there, and he's wild. I remember I watched him play in the NFL. How did he?
Nobody brought up any charges. That's how he made it.
Oh yeah. I always wonder about that because I'm seeing the ones now going there, like this basketball player, AJ DeBancer. I know he's a non-Mormon. They're getting a lot of them now with this NIL. They're getting them come to BYU because they wouldn't. I look at the court these in the tournament. They would not have had all these people would not have been at BYU. Excuse me, ma'am. Did you go to BYU?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Am I the only one that did it? Yeah, I went to Hawaii though, so like I wasn't at the
BYU Hawaii. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit more.
I dated a BYU girl and then ended up marrying her.
There you go.
Okay.
That's what happens.
Yeah. You know what, you all, I've been to Salt Lake City.
And we produced 4 tithing-paying children. 3 went on missions.
Those missions. Yeah, like I said, I've been to Salt Lake City. I went there in 2009. I was, being affiliated with the Unitarian Universalist Association of Affirming Faith. They had our General Assembly that late June of 2009 in Salt Lake City. I flew there. That's my first time ever flying, and I got a chance. I went out there on Temple Square, and I even went to your conference center. They gave me a tour of the conference center. I took pictures in there. I love the choir anyway because they were touring during the time because they were in. I was telling they were in Oklahoma. They were just touring the U.S. During the summer, and when I looked out there, the people were very nice. I was telling Jessica when she was on here, I said the people were nice, but it was like a space movie to me when I started looking at the way people were moving around Temple Square.
Space movie, I like that.
Yeah, it was like a space movie, and I started looking at myself walking through there. I said, when they were looking at it, I said, I hope I'm not a curse on this property. I had to put that in there as well. You see what I look like.
You've had a lot of religious training and experience, and I think that's incredible. And I really admire you for coming on to the show as a non-member and offering your opinions and joining in, and it's edifying for all of us. So thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, I thank you all, and like I said, Chanel Achenbach, I learned a lot from her. She and I communicate with each other, and I learned a lot about her experiences as well. And I learned from Darren. I have one of Darren Smith's books here as well.
Excellent.
Darren Smith's cool.
Oh yes, I'm about to get on off of here. I'm gonna let you.
Does he have any books?
Huh?
Just Darren's background. It's always just books, just like just piled up on the floor, just in towers. The last I saw him.
Oh yeah, I have his book about the one I have is the one about BYU, about those athletes those black athletes that end up going to BYU. Darren Smith did a book about that, and it was quite interesting. And also he even covered these guys in the late 1960s. You probably never heard about this. Those guys from University of Wyoming, they refused to play the game against BYU. Because they realize because of those what you have at your school, how they felt about blacks but not being in the priesthood and segregated. And what was that president's name? Ernest Wilkinson. That was president. He was an attorney from Washington D.C. In Washington D.C., Ernest Wilkinson was your president at BYU during that time, and he made some comments there that's kind of like hair raising that Ernest Wilkinson made. Yeah.
Very racist. Yeah.
Chuck,
those racist.
Chuck, do you have a Facebook account?
Oh yes, I do. Facebook. Yeah, that's Darren Smith's book. That's one of his well-known books. Yes. He talked about you think about Elijah Abel from your early ones. Said, had people there and we have Brigham Young put the ban because of something that happened in Nebraska. Something that it was racist. He said something about a black guy with white women, and it started. That's how the band started. That's from what I read. Something. Yeah,
that's
he found out something.
Even at BYU, that was when they were forced to allow more through Title IX or whatever, like federally to have funding. They were forced to accept, and they did so many shenanigans to try to get around that. But yeah, it wasn't Darren Smith, but it was a different historian. Hopefully the comments can help me. The one who wrote Second Class Citizens really did a deep dive into the politics at BYU. It's probably in with the athletes. It's probably in Darren's book too, actually. But yeah, there were specifically letters written about, from white males who were concerned that if black males were allowed into BYU, that potentially their daughter would date one, and they were unhappy about that.
Oh, heaven forbid.
Yeah, women are property, and that's where the sexism and racism often will intersect, because the white women are ours. They're our property. We don't want outsiders having them. And so Yeah, it's just all BS.
And Spencer
Chuck,
Kimball.
I would.
When Spencer Kimball did that, when they said open it up, what happened? Jimmy, I think it's President Jimmy Carter said if you don't love blacks in the priesthood, you're going to lose your tax exempt status in 1978. And Kimball, I think Kimball, we don't want to lose our status, and that's that. I told them, I say that's something. That 1978, that's the year that the people drunk the Kool-Aid in Guyana. Jim Jones,
Right.
1978. I was 3 years old during that time.
Chuck, that's one of my main talking points on my channel, my TikTok and Facebook. I want to send you a couple of videos. So you may see a friend request from me, and it's watts like on a light bulb, and you'll recognize who that is. And I'll send you some.
Request. If I'm on Facebook. If y'all want to send a friend request, I have yours already, Gene, and I'd be happy to converse with you all.
Great. Well, we have been going for over an hour and a half.
Yeah. So Chuck, stay on, and but we'll say goodbye to the audience, and I did the link again. If people want to come on for the after show and talk to Chuck, and thanks for watching. It's 2026. It's almost like a fourth over. I think it's coming close at the end of the month. It's amazing.
Oscars have started, so I'm probably going to have to go to see if my son got up front again.
Oh yeah,
right.
I gotta jump out soon too, but I'll hang out for a little bit if anyone wants to drop in after the show.
Yeah, hang tight, Chuck,
Right.
and
yeah, we
and
just
don't
have you
go
muted
anywhere
for a little
and
bit for the echo.
chat.
Sure, like and subscribe, everybody, and sharing is caring, and all these things. So we'll see you.